Alright guys, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all keeping safe, hopefully you all had a good weekend as well. So, a few weeks ago I reported on a leak stating that a new Ubisoft IP was coming, which appeared to be kind of like a mashup of The Division, Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon, basically. Now I highly recommend you go and check out that video so that you're kind of up to speed, but I'll kind of tell you where this is going. Now, in that video, I talked about some leaked images from a Twitter account by 0 Bytes and what those leaked images showed. Now, those images actually got taken down by Ubisoft not long after they were posted onto Twitter. I don't actually have the images, and I won't be able to include them in this video either because it would get taken down. But the fact that they got taken down kind of further indicated that this leak was true. And guess what? It actually is true as of yesterday. Now, Ubisoft announced yesterday they will be revealing a new IP today. I believe in the UK it's about 6:30 or 7 o'clock this evening. It's going to be going live. I think it's 8 PM CEST from memory. And then quickly following that kind of announcement, IGN and other YouTubers and other kind of news outlets started releasing almost like snippets of footage of what this new IP is. Now, the best way for me to explain it, I'll show you some footage, but the best way for me to explain it is, if you think of The Division and its setting in New York as a first-person shooter, that's kind of like Call of Duty and Overwatch vibes, then that's kind of what it is. And this kind of reinforces the rumour that I covered from a Ubisoft employee that if there is a Division 3, it will likely be PvE only, as Ubisoft attempt to provide players that PvP fix kind of elsewhere outside of these games. We've obviously got Heartlands and we've got this new IP as well. So I wanted to take a look at the footage a little bit and just talk about the footage a little bit. But more importantly, I wanted to talk about the increased likelihood that there is going to be no PvP in a Division 3 if we get one. So I think first off, I'll just kind of show you the footage so you guys can see exactly what this is all about. This footage actually comes from IGN. There is other footage at the moment. If you go into YouTube, there's some footage from game trailers, which is different to this one. I'd recommend you go check that one out as well because it's better resolution. This one's just taken from Twitter, so the resolution's pretty poor. Apologies, but it's only 20 seconds. Have a look. Alright, so let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. So, more than anything, for me, when I first saw this on Twitter, when it was first released on IGN, by IGN, I just immediately thought of Call of Duty. It just, the colours, just the way it plays, it just looks like a Call of Duty game. And you haven't got to look very far to see the Division influence in the scenery. It's obviously in New York. I believe there's the Sarah logo there. The actual initial teaser from Ubisoft before the footage was released about this new premiere actually has a rogue symbol in it. So we already knew that it was going to be Division related in some way, shape or form. Obviously, we didn't know this is exactly what it was going to be, but there is definitely a Division influence in the scenery. And also, if you take a look at the footage, there is a warhound kind of in the middle of the gunfight. This actually reminds me of Overwatch, I believe, where you have to escort the floaty thing. I've never played Overwatch. I used to watch a lot of Overwatch competitive. I like competitive sports, even if I don't understand them. And I believe that you had to escort something. It was like a floating thing. But here, obviously, it looks like you're maybe escorting the warhound, I think, or possibly you're having to protect the warhound. I can't quite tell. Now, this does appear to be the direction Ubisoft are taking with PvP. And I suspect this will be free to play as well. I say that because Ubisoft have announced their ambition to kind of infiltrate the free to play market more, which likely means there's going to be more monetization in gaming. I wouldn't be surprised if the Division 3, if there is one, is free to play. And that's going to be something I cover as a topic for another video. So I'll talk more about that in the future. Now, I could spend a whole video kind of analysing the 20-second footage released by IGN and the other bits of footage from other people. But the reveal premiere, as I said, goes live this evening, so I kind of want to check that out first before I comment too much on it. What I will say, guys, is there's actually a 10-second snippet released by T. Martin, I think it was today, showing gameplay from Manning National Zoo. So they've really used the Division locations as PvP maps here, so it's really kind of involved. Instead today, what I did want to talk about was the rumour, or kind of go back to the rumour that a Division 3 will be PvE only, if we get a Division 3 of course, and the increased likelihood it may well be a kind of real story-driven game rather than the looter-shooter that we've become accustomed to. We now have the Division Heartlands and we have this new IP. Now the Division Heartlands is free to play, and if it proves successful will likely become the staple PvP experience. It is the Division Heartlands. This new IP isn't that, it's a mashup of loads of stuff. Now at that point, if Heartlands becomes successful, there's an argument there that there's no point in having PvP in the Division 3. Now the counter argument being that the Dark Zone is, or was, and to many extents is still a huge part of the Division marketing and the Division 2 just in general. Removing the Dark Zone from the Division basically almost feels like you're ripping out one of the few unique identifiers of the franchise. You know, there's no other game that has it. So to take that away, you're left with a game that doesn't really have any other identifiers. I've always said that if, and obviously it's a huge if, of course, if the developers of the Division 3 can create a game where both PvE and PvP are really good and they can live in harmony, then I'd always want there to be a Dark Zone. Because when it's done properly, like it was in the Division initially, and to many extent all the way actually through the Division, then it's actually a really fun experience. And it has to be part of the game. With that said, if they cannot balance them properly, and the PvP experience undermines what they could achieve with the PvE experience, then they should remove PvP. Especially if Heartlands is successful, and quite possibly this new FPS game. You're going to get that third-person Division PvP experience from Heartlands, and you're going to get that first-person Ubisoft COD Overwatch mashup experiences as well. Now there's no doubt that Ubisoft want to give not just the PvP audience but other Ubisoft title audiences as well that PvP experience outside of those games, likely in an effort to separate them, because it's pretty obvious the Division 2 PvP has failed. My understanding is the way that PvP worked in Ghost Recon isn't all that great. And I guarantee you, Ubisoft would rather just focus on those games as PvE only, and they'd rather have something separate. They basically want like a Warzone, right? They want something that's going to make them a lot of money. It'll be free to play. It's going to give you that PvP experience. So when you go to play the Division or when you go to play Ghost Recon, you're not there having to worry about playing PvP. You're just there for that PvE experience. And it may even be that they completely go away from the looter shooter aspects, because, you know, Ghost Recon kind of adopted that looter experience with the most recent one with Breakpoint. The Division has been looter shooter since day one, but I honestly don't think that's the direction they want to take either of the franchises. I think they want them to both be story-driven PvE experiences, and I think that they want bits of those games in these PvP experiences so that you can still get that PvP urge from those experiences rather than in those PvE games. That's what I think they're trying to do, and I think that the evidence presented so far with Heartlands and this new IP, and I don't know what else they've got cooking up, to be honest. I really don't. You know, it wasn't that long ago that we learnt about this new IP. It was called, I think the leaked name for it was called Battlecat. I don't think it will be called Battlecat. I think that's just probably one of the names that they had just as a placeholder. I don't know what it's going to be called at all, to be honest. But that wasn't that long ago that we learned about that. So who knows? They may even have other stuff in the works that we have no idea about. I'm sure they do. But yeah, it's looking like the Division is being used in many ways outside of the Division that we know and love. Anyway, guys, I don't want to keep just rabbiting on for too long. We'll check out the new IP later on. I'll probably put a video out about it later on at some point. I'm not sure yet if it'll be later on or maybe tomorrow. But really all I wanted to address in this video was the fact that I think this is even more evidence that if we are going to get a Division 3, it's just going to be PvE only. Let me know if you're a PvP player, if that's something that you are happy with. As I said, if Heartlands is really good, I see no reason why it shouldn't be okay to not have PvP in the Division 3. Aside from the fact that removing the Dark Zone pretty much removes the biggest... It's the biggest identifier of the franchise. And the Division might lose the Division if there is no Dark Zone. It's hard to explain, but that's kind of how I feel. I wouldn't want the Dark Zone to be removed if it doesn't have to be. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below about that. I'm sure that this will be split down the road. I know a lot of people generally would just be happy with the PvE only experience. They'll probably be happy with the Dark Zone being removed. They probably don't see it as being a huge identifier of the franchise. As I said, I kind of disagree with that personally. Myself, I think it's huge in that respect, but I wouldn't want it to compromise the PvE experience, which I think it has done for the Division 2 especially. But I don't think that's got anything to do with the actual franchise itself. I think that's just down to the development of the game. Thanks anyway, guys. Until the next one, Epic out.